Okay, well, welcome everyone out there in Invisible Webinar Land. It's always interesting for me to present a webinar and basically sit talking to my computer screen by myself for an hour. So please do feel free to type some questions through to Kerry. It makes me feel like there's someone out there and not sitting in my office going a bit nuts. So please feel free to type questions through. It doesn't matter about interrupting me. I'm quite happy to answer questions as we're going. You will see that the slides are really quite simple. So I've just put things on there to be able to tell you a bit more about the subject matter, but there's not a massive amount of detail on there, so if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them. You shouldn't have to take notes, but I'm more than happy to answer questions, and then obviously they'll be on the recording that way as well. So a little bit about me before we start, but not too much. I've been speaking with the HIA for 6 years. Next year will be my 7th year. I wrote the marketing training that the Melbourne members do when they come into the office, and I've been presenting at the trade nights for all that time, and they have a conference as well. Fair to say that I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of members, so kitchen and bathroom builders and trades. Prior to that, I was working in franchising in the home services area, and then I was a business coach specialising in builders and tradies, or builders and trades. And so from all of that, I stopped to have a family and realised that business coaching is a bit too full on to do part-time, as you might imagine. And so that's how I fell into marketing, because I really found that I was one of the only business coaches that was helping people with marketing. Most people tend to shy away from it. And basically, in a nutshell, if you're a small business and the phone's ringing, everything else we can work out. So if we can get inquiries coming in that you don't have to worry about, you don't have to stress where the next customer is coming from, and you can turn the tap on and off quite easily, then pretty much everything else in the business can be sorted out, it would be fair to say. So that's how I got into marketing. So my background is not, I'm not a nerd, I'm not on the technical side of websites, I'm not even a graphic designer, so I'm not on how they look. What I'm interested in is how they work. So how does your website get you inquiries, basically? You know, it's great if it gets you a good reputation, it's great if it has architects knocking on the door or whatever, but really at the end of the day, your website's out there to stand up for you and get you inquiries. So that's the bit I'm concerned with. I'll talk to you a little bit about the nerdy stuff, but like I say, my background is in helping small business and getting the phone ringing, not in the technical side. So I'm going to talk to you today about some of the things that you would then go and ask your technical person for. So like I say, if you've got any questions about that, please sing out, but hopefully by going through with you what we've done in the past with other construction industry businesses, and what if I had someone sitting in front of me from the construction industry I would tell them to be looking for, hopefully by going through those with actual examples on the screen, it gives you something that you can use. I find it's better to give you an example rather than just theory. So off we go. So we're looking at websites, and most of you will probably be in a position that you have a site. So whether it just be a listing on one of the directories like home improvement pages or something like that, or whether you have your own website, or whether you have a really, you know, kick-ass one that you spent 20 grand on. Everyone generally has some sort of listing on the internet. If you don't have anything at all, that's fine as well though, because you've recognised the need that it's now time that you have to be on the internet some way, shape or form, and so you're here. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is just briefly how people, so this is the only part of theory by the way, but this is how people who are looking at selecting a trades or a construction business would use the internet. So this depends on the industry. If you're a retailer, for example, or if you're in the market for selling widgets that cost $10, people can use the internet differently for those sorts of businesses that have what we call a low ticket, that are selling something that's cheap. For something that's a high ticket, for something that's what we call a high investment product, so a home or a franchise or an expensive holiday or a cruise or anything that's basically a lot of money, people will spend a lot of time deliberating, as I'm sure you have been lucky enough to get familiar with. So if you think of it like this, that most people that are looking through websites of builders or renovators or trades, it's as if they're walking through a trade show or a home show. and your website is one of the stands at that home show. And so what I mean by that is 90% of people that go to that home show are going to be there for ideas. They're going to be there browsing, they're going to be checking things out, they're just looking for something to jump in front of them that they're interested in, basically. No real intentions to go ahead and sign up for something on the day. The internet's very much the same. 90% of people that come across your website are going to be there for ideas. They're going to be just checking things out. They're not going to be at the point where they're ready to make an inquiry, they're just browsing. So for those 90% of people, the site just needs to be there and be memorable enough that if they walk out of that expo, they can remember who the hell you were. So if you can imagine someone is walking through an expo or looking at 50 or 100 different sites for builders, for example, yours has to be something that is somehow remembered amongst all those 100 different websites. So if yours is the same as everyone else's, or even worse, if yours is not up there with the 5 or 6 that are the most impressive for that particular client, they're not going to remember you. So that's the first thing to take away. The second is that 10% of the people that do come to your site are going to be genuinely ready to make an inquiry. And for those people, it's important we're giving them what they need to see. We're making them feel like they're in the right place, and we're making it really, really easy for them to make an inquiry. People on the internet are massively lazy, so they don't want to click more than 2 or 3 times. So this is what you might hear your web people talking about, everything needs to be done in 1 click. It basically means that if someone's interested in you and excited by you, you want to make it really, really easy for them to get in touch. The other thing to think about is that any of the construction industries, particularly building, renovation, all of those sorts of ones, are massively highly visual. So if your website isn't full of visuals, you're really missing out on what people are there for. People are there to use it like an online brochure and browse through your work and be kind of excited by the visuals of what you can create. And so, you know, because these industries are about creating something, then you need to make sure that there's lots of visuals on the site. Websites in general are trending towards more visuals, and even brochures and things like that towards more visuals, because that's what people are drawn to, you know. And you know it yourself, you're not drawn to a A4 page of text, you're drawn to things with diagrams and pictures and real visual things. So flow charts, diagrams, animations are becoming really popular, little stick figure animations or little whiteboards, pictures, photos, all these sorts of things. Making it as visual as you can. So keep the words to a minimum, but make them the right words, and then use lots and lots and lots of photos. So point 1 to take away would be if you've done some work that you're really proud of, get 2 or 3 projects together, invest in a professional photographer, and make them look awesome, because it really does make a big difference. Okay, the next thing to think about, and you'd be amazed at the number of people that I see that don't understand this bit, or that probably have never thought about it, to be fair, is what sort of customers are you targeting? And so you need to think about, am I targeting the really high-end customers where money's no object? Am I targeting the mid-market who are still going to be comparing a few quotes, but maybe their expectations are a little bit lower? Or am I going for the budget-conscious shopper who doesn't really care about the bells and whistles, they just want the best price? And depending on who you're going for in those markets, basically your website should look the same. So if I'm going for high-end clients, my website needs to look high-end. If I'm going for budget, my website can look a bit more budget and a bit more flashing and bells ringing and things like that. So here's a couple of examples. VDG is targeting high-end renovations, and Mega Homes, which is not a client of mine, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind me saying, they're obviously targeting people that are new into the home building market. So we'll see a bit more about them in a second. So have a think about that for you. Once you know what kind of customer you're targeting, you can then go back over and look at your website with a fresh set of eyes and go, what is the overall feel of my site? Does my site feel high-end, or does my site feel low-end, or does it feel in the middle? Basically, your website needs to feel exactly the same as if I'm walking through one of your jobs. So if I'm walking through a home that you've built and it feels luxurious and high-end, then your website needs to look the same. You know, don't produce fantastic work and then have a website that doesn't do you justice, because they're just not matching. And then how can you show people that haven't seen your work how good you are? The picture of the door furniture there, so that's just saying all the little elements that you put into a website or a marketing brochure or what you're saying on the phone or how you run your business, all of those things add up to give an overall impression. So it's exactly the same as when you're building a house, that all of those little elements of the door furniture and the architraves and the flooring and the lighting and the light fittings and all those little things all add up to give you an overall impression of the job. Well, it's the same with websites. If you're using the same font as a Word document, it will slightly lower that overall feel. If the pictures are grainy and not high quality, then it will lower that overall feel. And so it's about all these little elements all coming together, and then the website matches the quality of work that you do. Okay, so this is our ultimate goal, is that we basically want our right customer, which is different for everyone. Our right customer might be, for one person, might be someone that's looking at building an investment townhouse. And for someone else, it might be a customer that's looking at doing an extensive add-on and renovation of single-fronted heritage home. And for someone else, it might be a client that's building a contemporary home on the coast. So for everyone, your perfect customer is going to be different. But basically, your ultimate goal is you want your website to feel to that person. Remember, they've looked at 50 or 100 different sites. You want them to get to yours and have this shining light moment where they go, oh, and they're like, I'm in exactly the right place. Where have these people been all my life? This is exactly what I'm looking for. They're exactly matching how I feel about things. They're saying that they're really good at the things that are super important to me, and I just feel like I'm in the right place. I feel comfortable. I feel like there's a good match. Once someone feels like that, they'll make an inquiry, no doubt about it. So if someone's in the position that they're looking to make an inquiry, or even if they're still at the browsing stage, they'll remember you and then they will come back. So you want to make those right people feel like they're in the right place. So that's enough of the theory. So what I'm going to do now is talk about some specific parts of your website and what you could have on them to make them work better. So when I say work, I mean get people to make an inquiry. These are the 10 things that we assess websites on, which again are not about the design. They're not about the nerdy stuff or the coding or how the site works. They're about how the site gets the right sort of customers to make an inquiry. So this is the bit that's often missed out. You know, you go and get your website designed, and the web company says, okay, well, you go and write the text and send us the photos and we'll do the rest and we'll make it look pretty, basically. But what you really need to start with is what's the strategy? What are you trying to do? You know, the words, who are they targeting? What are you saying as far as making sure that you're saying the things that are going to be important to those particular clients? So the thought part of it, it's the same as building, you know, the planning stage of it is more important, because if you don't do that, you're building without a purpose. So these are the 10 things that we assess a website on if we do a website review. And basically you're looking at, does it represent the word of mouth that people are hearing about you? Not that hear something good about you, does the website match that? Does it explain to the right sort of people what you're actually good at, which a lot of people forget to do? And does it, most importantly, make it really easy for people to make an inquiry? So it's return on investment, basically. If you put money into a website, you need to get inquiries back. These are a couple of the most critical pages, and they're also the pages that people look at the most. So the most viewed page for most construction businesses is the gallery or the portfolio. So like I said, very visual, online brochure, that's why people are using it. And then the second one is this about us, or a mission statement, or why use us. And so these two pages, I generally have both of them, but they can be put together. Basically, about us gives you a chance to build your cred. So, you know, experience, specialties, all those sorts of things, but it also gives you a chance to identify your ideal market. So you can say, we specialise in dealing with this type of project, or we prefer to deal with this type of project, or our biggest love is getting involved in these types of projects. So you can actually explain to the people that are coming past your website whether they're a good fit or not, which can sometimes mean you don't get inquiries from people that are a really bad fit, which can be great. Why use us is basically having a page that puts all the good things about you on one page. So you can call it the, you know, ABC Building Difference. You can call it why use us, why rely on us, why we're unique, our values, All these things are basically just saying, you know, our mission statement, all these things are basically just saying, here's a page that talks about all the things that we're really passionate about and that we're really good at. And that information you can go and use in a million different places too. So often if we help with someone's website, you can go and use that same information on a company profile, which if you don't know what that is, listen to the sales webinar that talks about how you can use the company profile to help get quotes over the line. Excuse me. And you can just use the same content as the website. So we just had a builder do that just recently, and they did the website, looks awesome, company profile took 10 minutes, and they can now send that out to architects. So all of this wording that you spend time with a copywriter doing it properly and targeting the right people, you can go on to use in other places as well. So about us and why use us, they're the ones that are worth getting some help with or spending some time thinking about who am I targeting and what am I going to say to them, and then writing it in a way that's going to appeal to those people. Testimonials. Most of you, not most of you, but there'll be quite a few of you that will say no one reads the testimonials or no one believes them. There is definitely a section of the people out there that will read the testimonials, but most of them don't own businesses. So most of the people that are motivated by knowing how other people have gone are not the sort of people that go out and blaze trails and own businesses, but they are definitely the sort of people that do use those businesses. They're definitely customers. So it is important that you have testimonials. So some tips that I would give you for that, and there's an example here, is edit the testimonials so they're all roughly the same length, because you'd rather someone read 6 good ones than one really long one that's awesome. Use some sort of name to identify the clients, so it's less likely that it's your Auntie Jane that wrote it, so you're trying to add some credibility. Include a photo, include if any of the home projects have won an award. Video is better if you can get video, that's fantastic. If you can't, having things like the photo is going to give it a bit more credibility. And the last one is using little pieces of testimonial in other places. So you could use a piece of a testimonial on your email signature, for example, or you could use a piece of a testimonial on the gallery page of your website underneath the project that belonged to that person, or on the home page. So you don't have to keep them in their own little page. It's actually really awesome marketing material, so you want to use it in a couple of different places. So people can see, yes, we're saying we're really great, but here's a customer that's actually backing us up, which is obviously much more valuable having the third party. Okay. Next one is awards. So if you have never entered a housing award or a renovation award or even a customer service award, which any business in any industry can enter, it's well worth looking at doing that, because even if you become a finalist or a runner-up, you can still use those medals, and again it just adds that little measure of top of the industry and exclusive and high quality stamp of approval type thing. And then you can use those medals in so many different places. Again, have a dedicated page for, sorry everyone, have a dedicated page for your awards, and on that page you should also include photos of the projects that won awards, include testimonials from the clients, make it a really kind of exciting page that's showing off everything that you've won. Your website's the chance to be a little bit braggy, because then in person you don't have to do that, you can just be humble and be yourself, and all of the credibility work's been done for you before the customer even meets you. If you have won awards, make sure that they're nice and prominent too. Okay, and like I said, the most commonly viewed page for these websites is the portfolio or the gallery. So it's worth putting some time into this to make sure that it represents you properly. One of the worst things people can do is put every single photo of every single project they've ever done up here. And it doesn't help a customer to look at it and go, oh yeah, these people are right for me, or oh, these people aren't right for me. So what I want you to do is actually take all your work, update it regularly. You know I was going to say that, but get professional photos, but then actually curate the images. So what that means is when an artist has an art exhibition, they go through and they curate and they say, okay, well, we'll have these three because these three all fit together and they demonstrate this. So what you want to do is go, okay, what are the projects that we'd love to do again, that we'd love to do more of these types of projects, and make sure that the images in your gallery are of the ones that you want to repeat not of the ones that you never want to see again. So if you've outgrown doing pergolas and patios, don't put those photos on the website, even if you're really proud of the work, because you don't want customers to necessarily identify with that if it's at the expense of a customer that's going to do a $400,000 renovation identifying with you. This is what you've got to think. You might lose the little one, but if you don't do it, you might not get the big one. Pictures need to be what we call optimized for web. That means that they will load quickly, basically. You can have a thing called a filter. So in this example here, this was a fairly new site, it's since been updated, but this guy's got 2 different projects. And what happens is if you're on all, which is the default pick, it shows all the photos in your gallery. And then what you can do is you can filter them by different projects. And then that little lime green box, that's actually a rollover caption. So you can put your mouse over it and you can say, this project was the award winner in 2012, blah, 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 and then they can click on it and go into the photo. But you can actually filter them by project, or a lot of the time I get my clients to filter them by type. So here's all of my unit builds. Here's all of our renovations. Here's all of our bathrooms and kitchens, for example. And the other thing is, yeah, use those images throughout the whole site. Don't wait till someone gets to the gallery to see your work. Make sure you've got some really sexy work images and that you're using them throughout the whole site, because like I said, it's all visual. The last most important page is, not least, but last most important page to cover is Contact Us. This is a really important page because this is where someone's going to go if they're deciding whether or not to inquire with you. So they're thinking, yep, if there's something on here that really puts people off, they will often not make that inquiry. So an example can be one of those capture codes. So everyone's probably rolling their eyes, those things that you have to try and put the right letters in, or the worst, the ones where you have to, they say it and you're going to try and type it in. Those things will often make people go nut too hard. If the form's really, really long, that might often make people go no too hard. So what you want to do on the Contact Us page is it's kind of like a online handshake. You want to say to them, you know, yes, you're doing the right thing, congratulations on a fantastic move. And so you put a nice photo of your work. You may, include a testimonial on the contact page is one of my little tricks. Make it seem that they're doing the right, there's that last little pat on the back of reassurance that they're doing the right thing. The other thing is make the phone number mandatory. So a little asterisk on the internet says you have to fill in this bit. So make the phone number that, because there's nothing worse than getting email after email of people going, can you please email me back and tell me your prices? Because all you can do is email them back and ask for a phone number. So make sure that's mandatory, and then they have to put their phone number in. Okay, so if there's any questions about any of those particular pages, I'm happy to answer them now or at the end. Or if you want to ask something that you don't want everyone else to hear, I'm happy to talk to you individually after the webinar. The next bit that I wanted to quickly cover was some of the new stuff. So just the same as when you go to a conference to learn about industry, that there's always new trends with the web. Exactly the same as in construction. If you're using the new stuff, you'll look like you're modern and cutting edge. So if one of your things is that you want your clients to think that you are cutting edge, that you're using the latest technology in building techniques, in building materials, then you also want to have your website have some of the latest things in it. Fair enough. So if your website dates back to the 1980s, and one of your value propositions, or one of the things that you're saying that you're good at, is that you're, ahead of the industry trends, or you're up on the latest in sustainability, or whatever it might be, there's a mismatch there between the quality of the site, which is essentially an online business card for you, and what you're saying that you're good at. Okay, so very quickly, some of the new modern trends. So the first thing nowadays is about being genuine. And, when all this business on the internet started to be done, it was a lot about, okay, well, these are the rules that Google has set up, and how can we kind of trick Google into giving us more than our fair share? And really it's now become a case of that Google has decided, well, we don't want to give additional inquiries to the people that are paying the most money. We want to give the client who's searching the most relevant answer. And so that means that they're constantly changing the rules, trying to get rid of the people that are trying to rot the system basically, and ensure that the customer who's doing the searching gets the best possible relevant result. And so what that means is they're doing things like favouring local businesses. If you've got things like reviews online that show that people who are local are happy with your work, that's going to give you priority. Using images and text that is just yours, not using what we call stock photos, which is like, the photos that you can buy. Using things that are just about you and really genuine. Doesn't mean that it doesn't look professional, but it also needs to be real. And lastly, making the website, everyone's heard the term SEO friendly, which is great, and you want to make your website attractive to Google, but if your website is attractive to Google but doesn't first and foremost appeal to the customer, there's no point in getting people to come there anyway. So write for your ideal client to feel like they're in the right spot, and then get the nerds to do their magic and make that SEO friendly. So it's about being genuine now. If you just go out there and say, this is our business, this is what we do, this is what we love, this is what we're great at, this is where we're based, then that's going to get you a long way. And there's lots of different ways that Google in particular, who's obviously the dominant one of that market, is going to send more of those people to you.
Actually, Catherine, I might just ask you just if you could explain what SEO is.
So I will explain it in great detail in about 3 slides. So I might hang on for that because I've got a couple of pictures that I can show you.
Great, thank you.
But basically when I say SEO friendly, that's saying that the site's been written so that it's attractive to Google. And so Google's a search engine where it's very similar to the index in Yellow Pages, where someone says, I'm looking to buy this, and they type it into Google, and then they get sent to the ads, essentially, or the listings for those pages. So what SEO means, in the context of what I was just talking about, is trying to make your ad better than everyone else's ad, just by the writing so that you come up more times than other people. So I'll explain it in detail once I've got a picture in front of me too, but yes, sorry about that. The second new thing, or the latest development in it, is what we call a responsive site. So if you've been looking at doing your own website or doing a new one in the last 12 months, then the IT people have probably talked about responsiveness. And what this means is whether you're viewing the website on a mobile phone or an iPad turned up the other way, like portrait versus landscape, or a computer or a laptop, that the website will actually scale depending on what you're viewing it on to make it a full functioning website for that particular device. So in the past it was either you had one website and then on a mobile phone you had to kind of pinch, zoom in and scroll around to be able to see things. Or if you probably did your site, like say 2 years ago, you have a website and then you have a separate mobile phone site, but that's very messy because you need to update them both separately, and they have 2 different sets of stats and all this sort of stuff. So now we have responsive websites that have all of the bells and whistles, have all of the funky marketing stuff, but then when you view it on a mobile, it scales to the mobile. You don't lose anything, so you're not missing out on having the same content, which you used to be with a separate mobile site was often scaled down. So you're not losing anything, but it becomes a perfect mobile site. The other thing that the latest sites do is what we call lazy loading, and what that means is if you go to a really modern site, and I can send you some examples, it will actually load the pictures and the content as you're scrolling down the page. So it only loads it if you scroll it, and of course what that means is that when you first go to the website, you're not going to wait around for 10 minutes for the pictures to load, because they only load if you're going to scroll down and see them. So it greatly speeds up things. I'll give you an example. So mobiles and iPads, 20 to 40%. So typically, trades and construction, so I've looked at builders and I've also looked at trades. My painters at about 35% now. 20 to 40% of the people that are viewing your site will be viewing it on a mobile. So if you haven't looked at your own site on a mobile, I suggest that you get out your phone and pop your website in your mobile and have a look. And if it doesn't turn into a mobile site in some way, you're probably missing out on 20 to 40% of your inquiries. If I go back a slide, you'll see this is Glenn's contact us page. And so that's the contact us page as viewed on my laptop. Now if I go forward again, that's the exact same page but viewed on a mobile phone. So all it's done is it's shrunk it in, but you haven't lost anything, and that's become a mobile phone site. The mobile phone site's then what we call touch-enabled, click-to-call. You know, click-to-call, you click on the phone number and it rings it on the phone. They're pretty standard. So all your videos and stuff need to work on the phone too when they didn't used to. So responsiveness means, you know, a third of the people that look at your site are going to be looking in on something tiny like a phone, so making sure that it's hitting the right mark for those people as well. The last thing that it should do, which I've also got a picture of, so this exact same page, if you can have a look here, see where the menu is. So up in the white, we've got the menu there. Then we've got the mobile phone site where the menu's in that little drop-down box. And then if we scroll further down that page past the map, what happens is, I don't know if you can see my mouse pointer, but what happens is the menu actually freeze frames. So you know in Excel where you can, if you're familiar with Excel, you can save the top line and then you can scroll down and the top line still stays there. Well, that's one of the newest developments in these new style of websites where people can scroll down but they don't lose the menu. And what that means is you can put stuff underneath the first bit that people see, and they can go down but they can still figure out where they are on your website, so they don't end up having to scroll all the way back up, which again, like I said, people are really lazy on the internet. Video testimonials, like I said, video is very, very favourably looked at by Google as well, and I guess that's because it's a genuine thing. So like I said, Google's all about you being genuine, so if you've got video on your website, if you've got video testimonials or any sort of video, they're going to say, hey, these people have got actual video, not just words type thing. So those sorts of things, again, it's about who you're targeting. If you're going to say that you're cutting edge, then definitely you need to have video. If you're going to say that you're traditional with old-fashioned customer service values, you can get away with not having video, absolutely. So you don't need to go and spend a huge amount of money to look awesome on the internet, because obviously, you know, you can be anyone you like depending on how you make your website look. You don't need to spend a huge amount of money, but it just needs to match the level of what your work's at and the sort of customers you want to get. So this is about a website being interactive, and I suppose a website being kind of intuitive to what the person who's looking at it wants to do. Did you have a question, Kerry, before I move on?
No, we have a few questions, but I might just save them for a little while because you may cover it in the coming slides.
Sure, you're making me nervous, but no worries. Okay, now this is only one tiny little slide, but I want everyone to have a look at it because there's heaps and heaps of people out there. You guys can go out and explain to the rest of the industry about this principle. And basically it's this: no matter how awesome your website is, unless you invite someone to come and see it, no one will see it. If no one sees your awesome website, it doesn't matter how awesome it is, no one's going to make an inquiry. So I've had a few people that have built awesome websites and then came to me and said, I built this website, it's not working, it's not doing its thing. You go look at the site and it's fantastic, but the problem is that no one's going to look at it. So it's the same as if you built a fantastic house. If you've got the most sexy house on the block with all the bells and whistles, it's still not, you know, it's like a tree falling in the woods unless you put some invitations out and have a bit of a house party and get people to come over and see it. So in the internet world, this is called online advertising. So online advertising is about putting something out there and saying, everyone come and look at our website. And then of the people that come and look at your website, some of those people are going to make an inquiry, hopefully. Now the worst thing that can happen is that your website, compared to other people's websites, is a bit rubbish. If that happens, you could put all the ads out in the world or all the invitations out in the world and people will come but no one will make an inquiry. So that's when you can look at the nerdy stats behind your website and you can go, okay, is the problem that heaps of people are coming over but no one's inquiring, or is the problem that no one's coming over? And they're very, very different problems. Do you know what I mean? So both fairly easily fixed but very different problems. So it's really important that you know what's going on there. So there's a few different ways, and the first one's this mysterious SEO. So I'm sure you've all had calls from many, many overseas countries offering to get you on page 1 of Google, and it's by this magical thing called SEO. So basically what SEO is there's your website, and then you get a whole heap of nerds or outsourced or offshore or whatever, and they write articles, it's basically copywriting. They write articles about your website and about your business, and also just about what you do in general. So if you're a heritage kitchen and bathroom place, they will write articles about heritage kitchen and bathrooms, and they will use your name in them. And all of those articles need to be different, need to be unique content. And then what happens is they put those articles in different places on the internet. So there's actual, what we call article repositories that are just websites that are just a dumping ground for these articles, basically. And then in that article, they link back to your site. So that's what is called a backlink. When an external website links to your site, it's called a backlink. When your website links to your supplier's website, that's called a backlink to them, which does absolutely nothing for you, by the way. So the thing about this is, though, that this is basically trying to trick Google into making your site more relevant than it really is. So because there's all these articles all over the internet, if someone then comes in and puts in the search heritage kitchen and bathroom renovator Sydney, then Google will go, okay, well there's this website that's just talking about how good they are with kitchen and bathroom renovations, or there's this website where there's actually 300 articles all over the internet talking about how good they are at kitchen and bathroom renovations. And so it creates this kind of credibility, and then the idea is that Google puts you up higher on what we call the organic listings or the free listings. So you can see that there's the ones in my picture with the little yellow box that are ads, and then Melbourne House Builder is the first one in what we call the organic. Now the issue with SEO, which sounds, so that sounds great. There's a couple of issues with SEO now where I personally feel that SEO is going the way of VHS, which is going. And the reasons that I think that is firstly because Google doesn't want you to do this. So Google doesn't want you to rort the system and try and make your site more relevant by doing that. They want the client to be sent to the most relevant place. The second problem is the cost. So to get good SEO done, you need to pay for people to write the articles. So even if you do that offshore, you're still looking at $500 to $1,500 a month. And it can take 3 to 6 months before it works, before you start coming up on page 1 or page 2 or page 3 of Google. And that's how they measure the results, what page of Google you're on. Then what can happen, and what does happen, and what happened last week, is that Google changes the rules because they don't want people to rot the system. They figure out another way to change the rules, and everyone loses their ranking that was doing it the SEO way. So it can be, in my eyes, not always a good investment. It depends on the industry and it depends on who's doing it for you. But definitely something to really consider carefully before you start sinking $1,000 a month into SEO is that the rules can be changed, and then if they're changed, you definitely can lose your spot. Hopefully there's no SEO salespeople on the call. Free SEO is the opposite, so there's no cost to this, and this is working with Google, who, like I said, wants to give the most local listings the relevance. And so this is things like being on the map for Google, having reviews on the internet. So this is all what I call free SEO. This is stuff you can do yourself, or you can get someone to help you, or if you've got a uni student or probably a primary school student nowadays, they can sign you up on this stuff. And you'll get people that are looking for a local tradesman or a local builder that will find you here, especially if you've got reviews from your clients. So there's companies that you can go through that can kind of turn this dial up to 100 rather than you doing it yourself, and that's definitely worth doing as well. But once it's there, it's free. Your other option, which is quick and will give you results, probably not the most elegant, but quick and will definitely give you results, and you can turn the tap on straight away, is Google AdWords. Again, a million people will ring you and try and sell you this. It's kind of like picking a mechanic. You're best to get a referral. And it's basically like putting a Yellow Pages ad in. So the difference being that you can take your Yellow Pages ad out at Christmas if you go on holidays, and you can put 50 ads in and see which one proves to be the one that works the best as far as getting people to the website. And you just pay every time someone clicks on the ad. And so what you do in the words that you put in the ad, you make sure that you're qualifying people out so that only the right people are going to click, and therefore you're only paying for the right ones. And you set a budget for this, so you can say I want to spend $15 a day or I want to spend $2,000 a month, or it can be anywhere between. I've got clients spending $150 a month, I've got clients spending $2,000 a month. None of it comes to me. I just refer them onto a Google AdWords nerd, because honestly, you've got to be a specialist at it if you want to get the results. Otherwise, you're just going to end up kind of lost in Google land, as I did when I tried to do it myself. So refer to the nerds is always my theory. Websites as well. I just help with the marketing stuff. So speaking of, this one is what I call a stalker ad, which if you do advertise on Google AdWords, or you do have a nerd that you work with, you'll know these as remarketing ads. And a remarketing ad essentially follows you around the internet for a period of time after you've been on the website. And it's just a case of, because so many of these services are what we call high ticket, then the process to decide who to go with can be quite a long one. And so what these little ads do is they pop up in different places and just keep you fresh in that person's memory. So when they are up to website 99 of 100, they can still remember you, who was website number 3. There's an example. So I was looking for a listing of at my listing of newspapers on the left, and up pops an ad for Mega Homes, which, as you can remember, was the picture that I showed you right at the start of the builder that was targeting first home buyers. So this ad has popped up as I'm moving around the internet a day or two after I've been on their website. So this can be really, really effective for builders. It doesn't cost anything extra. You just build it into your AdWords budget. So I think Serenity, we paid a graphic designer, not much, to do the designs, and then it just rolls into your AdWords budget. Okay, so once we've done that, we then want to make the website work. So everything's the latest and greatest technology. It's all targeted to the right person. It's saying the right things that are going to make the right client feel like they're in exactly the right spot. And now we just want to get them to pick up the damn phone. So how do we do that? First of all, like I said, the images have to be right, because the images are going to make them feel like they're in the right spot. Then the words need to be right. So use a professional copywriter, get them to write it and target it at the right people so that they feel they're in the right place. Some more nitty-gritty stuff is have a phone number in the top right-hand side of the website, which is the traditional place where people go looking for contact details. If you don't want them to phone you and you want them to email you, then put your email address there. If you want them to fill out a contact form, put contact us and click to the form. But if you want them to ring you, stick a phone number up there and make it nice and big. Calls to action, so on every single page, have something that explicitly asks people to contact you. So call us now to discuss your plans, or contact us now to get an idea of your project, or whatever you want to say, but explicitly ask people to contact you. Like I said, use testimonials everywhere, and constantly, you want to constantly be giving people multiple ways of getting to the important stuff. So if the important stuff's your portfolio, if the important stuff's your About Us page, if the important stuff's the contact page, you want to have multiple ways. So if you can see in that first example there, they're what we call image buttons. And so in addition to the menu, they're kind of like highlight bits, that you're saying, well, these are the most important parts of our website, make sure you go and have a look at these. The other thing you can do at this point, and I do have people that are getting over 100 inquiries a month, but then only 2 or 3 are worth meeting with. So if that's you, if your website's working kind of a bit too good, then you can use it as well to head people off at the pass. So if you're getting lots and lots of inquiries that are not the right ones for you, people that are ringing up asking for price per square metre, all those sorts of things, people that are not looking for the sort of work that you do, that you can actually use your website to kind of make them feel like they're in the wrong spot rather than the right spot. So the feel of the site, gallery images, people will look at your gallery and go, yes, this is my kind of a builder, or no, this is too expensive, or this is too budget for me, or whatever. About Us, again, you can actually explicitly say the type of clients you like to work with, and even the testimonials. What is said in the testimonials can also help people identify with whether they're in the right spot or not. If it's still a problem after doing all that, some of the tougher things that you can do include putting price ranges on a project, or adding questions to your inquiry form, like how soon are you going to be building, what are you looking for in a builder, what stage are you at, those sorts of things can be really helpful in qualifying people and knowing who to get back to first. Okay, so just to leave time for questions, I'll quickly give you some advice if you do want to, in particular, if your website doesn't work on a mobile phone, you're already at 30 or 40%, you really will need to be looking at upgrading sometime in the next 12 months because obviously that's going to get more and more prominent. If people see you on a site sign, on a vehicle, on TV, on radio, in print, there's a good chance they can look you up on their phone. So that's only going to get more and more prominent. So if you don't have a mobile responsive site, then that's probably something you should be thinking about. For everyone else, if you don't have a website at all, or if you do have one that's responsive but you're thinking of doing some upgrades, these are some of the things that I find that you can look for. I can definitely recommend people. We, for my business, consult on the marketing aspect. So anyone can find someone that's a great graphic designer or that's great at doing the nerdy stuff, but what we do is make sure that the planning stage is done right. Our first point is, and my builders and renovators would know this, that it's sometimes much, much easier and more cost effective and just better for everyone in so many ways to do a knockdown rebuild rather than a reno. So the same thing with your website is that, especially if it's not mobile responsive, but even, if you've got a site that's all right, but there's a lot of elements that need to be changed, sometimes it can be just way cheaper or a lot less time consuming to just start over. So I've got people doing changes that can go on for 5 or 6 months, whereas a new website can be up and running in 4 or 5 weeks. So again, it's just a case of just get out there and get some good work, and that will more than cover the cost of getting a sexy site. So this is what you should look for. My little diagram. The marketing is the bit that starts the site. Whether you just sit down and figure out who you're trying to attract and whether it's mid-market or high-end or whatever, work that bit out before you start. Then look at how the site's going to look. Then look at what it's going to say, and then worry about putting it together with the nerd stuff. Because it's the planning side of it and then who you're trying to attract that's going to make a difference as the sort of inquiries you get. Just as a guide, try and go with someone local as opposed to someone that's in a different state. Well, in different states probably okay, but if you're going to offshore, I've had a few clients that have gone to website companies overseas, so whether it be in America or India or Singapore or whatever, you're definitely going to save money by doing that, but then you get a massive problem with the time delays and communication and things like that. You should be looking, spending between 5 and 15 grand. If it's way more than that, you're probably getting ripped off. If it's way, way, way less than that, then you're probably not going to get something that's going to be a good investment that's going to last you into the future. Exactly the same as the work that you guys do. If you don't have a photographer, you need to hunt one down and at least get your top 3 or 4 projects, get some professional photography, and then all those other elements that I've covered. Okay, so finally, no sales pitch, but I will quickly show you what we can offer if you do want some help. So my business only does 2 things. We only consult on new websites, and we do what we call marketing coaching. So marketing coaching is for people that want to do the work themselves but just need the ideas. So a lot of small businesses don't particularly want to pay thousands of dollars a month for a marketing company or an advertising agency to do their stuff, but they just need the ideas, and then they're like, you know what, we'll do it ourselves, or we'll get the receptionist to help out or whatever. So if that's who, you can talk to me separately about that. We send out a newsletter once every 2 or 3 months, which is just about the construction industry and talks about some ideas for marketing. So if you want to join that, email info@Graceful Solutions. There is a special HRA package for websites which I've negotiated with a company here. So I consult on the marketing and they can do the design and the nerdy stuff, and that's $3,800 all up. So if you're interested in that, email me personally because it's just dependent on availability of the nerds basically. And lastly, if you do have a site that you're not sure about, or you know needs to be changed but you're not sure how, then contact us at websites, and we do only for members. Please don't let anyone else know about this because it is quite time consuming for us. a marketing review of the website. So we'll come back and give you a list of changes that you can give to your IT people and say, just make these little tweaks and hopefully your inquiries will at least get better quality, if not get better in numbers as well. So, and 5 minutes to spare, Kerry. I've finished. So
well done.
We can actually not run over.
That's right. Okay, thank you for that. I do have a few questions for you. Caroline asked, what is naked email?
So naked email is putting your own email on the website. And so if you go to your contact page, it will have carol@abcbuilding.com.au or even info@abcbuilding.com.au. And that's what we call a naked email. The problem with that is you're going to get heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of spam. The other problem, and so spam is junk email basically, which everyone should be familiar with if you have an email address. The other reason why is because people will email you direct rather than filling out the form. Now I know some people get annoyed by the form, but it's more annoying for you at the other end to get emails that just have one line, please tell me how much you are or something like that with no information. So it's better to, other than the spam situation, which we could be talking hundreds per day, the other massive benefit is that at least you can control what people are saying when they contact you by email and making sure that you grab that phone number.
Yeah, and you just got to make sure that you're checking when those contact forms come in that you're actually getting back to people. Because I know personally I've filled out contact forms before and waited and never been contacted. Make sure they go somewhere.
Yeah. One of the things that we put in the web review is that on your contact form at the top of before you ask for their details, is that you actually tell them what's going to happen. Because it's exactly right. People hit submit and then think, did that go to a human? What's going to happen? Is someone going to get back to me? And so I will always write a little bit of text that says, please fill out your details below. On receiving this, Gary will give you a call from our office within 24 hours to discuss your project with you in person. Let them know what's going to happen. Let them know the name of the person that's going to call them, and you'll find that that will make it a lot less risky for people to inquire.
Yeah, and I think if they get a time frame, then, if you know somebody's going to take 48 hours to get back, then you're not sort of waiting the next 5 minutes to get a response as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Theo has asked, what would be, or is there a maximum, size for your website page-wise? And I guess that depends on the size of your business, but what would you recommend?
Yeah, look, it does. I'm more along the lines of a minimum because I think at minimum you want to have that About Us page. You want to have a page that talks about all your benefits, like why use us, blah, 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 mission statement, whatever, and even maybe a frequently asked questions page. So most of the time for builders and tradies, it's somewhere around the 12 pages mark, 10 to 12, and that includes your homepage and your gallery and services and meet the team and all this sort of stuff. So somewhere around the 10 to 12 mark. My own business, which is not in construction, our website's going to have 40 pages, but most of those pages are, without getting too complicated, what we call a landing page, and so that's a page just about one particular service. So my business that I own over the other side of Melbourne with my business partner who's an ex-coaching client, that is a medical centre, and there's a whole heap of different services, and so each page has its own, each service, sorry, has its own page, and then if we run a Google ad, remember it's like a Yellow Pages ad, it can go straight to that page. So that's another way to make really good use of that online advertising. But no, typically between 10 and 12, probably about 20 would be the upper limit if it was just a straight trades business.
Okay, I have a question from Carla, but that's the last one I have. So if anybody else has a question, type it in now, because I know it sometimes takes a little while to type it out, and I don't want to end the webinar mid-question. For those of you who have to leave, I know it is 2 o'clock, thank you for joining us. Please fill out the survey at the end, and look forward to catching up with you for other webinars. But for everybody else, we're just happy to keep going through a few questions. Carla asked, you've gone through the points of things that you should be doing. Are there things that you've seen that you shouldn't do? And I know one thing really puts me off is typos. I think as soon as I see a typo in a heading, it really sort of lowers the standard for me. So I think getting someone to proofread is vital. And I
Mm-hmm.
know how hard it is because I've worked on websites, and it is hard to get everything correct when you're typing lots of stuff. But I think that proofreading. But are there other things that you think put people off?
Well, I mean, I suppose that's a little bit of it, Kerry, is about, I'm yet to meet a decent builder that just doesn't say that they've got a good eye for detail. And in fact doesn't say that they've probably got the best eye for detail in the industry, And so a big part of these websites is that all the elements are high quality, and so that's about the proofreading, definitely like typos. Things like the images being real grainy and pixelated, the font being the font that you use in Word or Calibri, which is the standard font for emails, that can be really off-putting. Anything flashing or spinning tends to really annoy people. Music or videos that play automatically tend to drive people crazy. So people kind of want to control their experience of your website. They don't want to be annoyed. The ones where people walk on the screen and start talking to you, you just want to get out of there. So all those sorts of things that are kind of not client-centric, they're not about the client, they're about you kind of shoving what you do down their throat. They are the things that can really put people off. And then you've got things like readability. So, if you are going to have a black website, make sure that the text is a bit bigger and easy to read. Make sure that there's a contrast between the back of the screen and the font so people can read it easily, things like that.
And what's your view? I know it's the trend at the moment to have that big hero shot on the front page, and then often having a sort of slideshow with several images, which I guess would work really well if you're trying to show a portfolio of your work. But what's your view? Some people believe that's a bit too much info for someone to take in and can put them off. But I mean, I personally love those beautiful images. But
yeah, it's definitely the way things are going, and what they're actually called sliders. And so those sliders are like a big billboard for your business. And what they can be used for is the same as those picture buttons. So they're designed to send people to the most important parts. So if you go to the JKB Property Inspections website that I had a picture of in the presentation, you'll see that they have sliders. There's a slider that says, the big billboard across the top of the site that says real estate agents click here, basically, homeowners click here for property inspections. So they can be used in that way. Having said that, if you go to the Morehouse Builders website that was also in the presentation, their site's just as modern, actually built the same week, which was, a couple of months ago, and they have the more traditional website where they've still got, I think, I'm sharing my whole screen now, aren't I, Kerry?
You are now. Yep.
I am now. So I'll show you. So this is still a really modern website, but it's more traditionally set up. It hasn't got the big scrolling down, So that was still animated. The Quality Homes on the Mornington Peninsula is still animated. You can still scroll down, but it's a bit more traditional in its feel than something with the fancy sliders. So I'm a fan of them for the right business, but then there definitely is a place for the more traditional, a little bit kind of quiet confidence, if you like. The most important thing is that if you do this, I've got to move your webinar thing out of the way, Kerry. If I do this and I scale it down to a mobile phone site, the website scales with me, So then if I go to the fancy pants, this is about, if you want to look modern, you need to look at the sliders because this is the latest thing. So we go to this one, and again, we've got the sliders, don't get caught out, property. Then the next one's for real estate agents, I think. I know, that one. Next one's for real estate agents. And again, doesn't really matter. You scroll down and these are still working regardless of whether you're on a mobile, but that's how it's going to look on a mobile phone. So that's your important thing.
And I think you made the point earlier that, the words that you have, you don't necessarily have to have a lot of words. Make sure the words that you have are the right words.
Yeah. And that they're targeted, again, for the type of people that you're after, And most of the time, even the high-end clients don't like to be waffled onto, so you want to keep things quite direct. But, use words that are going to appeal to the people that you're writing to. Don't try and overdo it and make it too complicated.
Yeah. And Sarah's asked if they have a construction company, any suggestion on pages? I guess that's one area where you when you mentioned all those landing pages, do they all have a different domain name?
No, God, no. They're just, when people talk about landing pages, they can be these kind of little satellite pages off on their own that are just for advertising. But most of the time with my clients, they're service pages. So that you think of it in terms of, if you are a construction company, you might have a service page for commercial. You might have a service page for unit development. You might have a service page for residential. And so those can then also become, residential builder in Hawthorn landing page goes to the residential page rather than the home page where they've then got to try and figure out where to go. So for a construction company, again, your 10 to 12 is pretty much going to do it. So like I said, so the HIA deal, under $4,000, $4 to $5,000 for your 10 to 12 pages, something like that would mostly suit for construction unless you were doing a whole heap of different stuff.
Okay then, well I think we are at the end of our questions. As I said earlier, if you want a copy of the slides, just shoot me an email. Happy to send those through to you. Happy to send a recording as well.
There's also a little fact sheet that you can send through to everyone, Kerry, which is pretty small in size if you want to.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Yep.
2-pager.
Yep, that sounds great. And if you do have any other questions, sometimes you get off the call and you think, oh, I should have asked that. By all means, shoot them through. Catherine's always happy to answer questions later, aren't you, Catherine?
Absolutely. maybe not on Friday afternoon, but
no,
maybe
not
Monday morning.
Yeah, we will get to it on if not this afternoon, but Monday morning. So everybody, thank you for joining us. I hope everybody has a great afternoon. If you get a chance, have a look at some of the recorded webinars that we have. We also have some information guides on our website. So our HIA website has lots of information that can help you out. So once again, thank you, and thank you for your time, Catherine. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you soon. Fill out the survey.
See you later.
Bye.